You're watching a Highwire Media podcast. Hey, make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So, could California elect a Republican governor in 2026? Well, we have a shock poll that shows that something that would traditionally be considered a long shot may be closer to reality than a lot of people think. And we're going to dive into this because California is a very important state. It is the biggest state in the nation. It has a very robust economy. It's the largest population size, even though a lot of people have left the state of California. And it's a very crucial state in terms of the impact that it has on the rest of the country. It's definitely a liberal stronghold. If Democrats lose California, they would not be able to really win an election ever again. And obviously, this is about the state level. I'm not saying it's going to flip in 2028 or 2032, although it is true that if you have a Republican governor in California, you elect Republican leadership there, you're probably more likely to end up seeing the state be terraformed more to the right. Maybe not overnight in terms of a Republican flip, but the state has moved right a lot. And you possibly could see it in our lifetimes. Republicans win it at the presidential level. And getting it at the state level is easier. And definitely it can be used as like a springboard to accelerate the trends. And we're going to get into this detail. Or into data, I should say. But really quickly, guys, a reminder about Wisconsin. There is a very crucial state Supreme Court election that is taking place next Tuesday. There's 6 days left. Vote early if you can, if you live in Wisconsin. Make sure that everybody you know knows this is happening. Contact everyone you know who lives in Wisconsin. If you don't live in Wisconsin, make sure they vote. It could be crucial. The Democrats are going to try to draw out possibly 2 Republican congressional seats. We're talking about Trump's agenda. It is a crucial election ahead of 2026 and 2028. You're talking about election law, all that good stuff. It's on the line this April 1st. That's not an April Fool's joke in the state of Wisconsin. So a quick reminder for everybody just ahead of this election. But back to California. This is an interesting poll because California is a state that is not a Republican state. We understand that. It's known as a Democrat stronghold. But still, when you look at California this past election cycle, it voted for Kamala Harris. She's from California. But it didn't vote for her by like a ridiculous margin because Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden won the state of California by roughly 30 points. However, Kamala Harris only won it by 20 points. She only won it by 3.2 million votes over Donald Trump. Biden in 2020, he won it by over 5.1 million votes. That was cut to just 3.2 million votes. And you see this, a lot of counties flipped. You flipped like 11 counties from blue to red in the state of California. And even counties like LA County got a lot less blue. Donald Trump, all across the board in the state of California, did much, much better than he ever did. And down ballot Republicans in the state of California, at least at the Senate level, did even better. At the House level, it was a bit of a different story, which is kind of a different story than what we've seen in years past in California, where the House Republicans outran Trump. But we kind of saw the opposite thing happen. But these counties, like 15 points to the right, obviously, they add up for sure. You know, the big counties where you're going to see the biggest shift. But even in LA County, 11 points to the right there. Donald Trump cracked 1 million votes in LA County, got roughly about a third of the vote. I mean, that's definitely a great step in the right direction. We're going to take a quick break from this episode, and I'd like to discuss my sponsor, NordVPN. A service that keeps me confident and secure every time I go online. If you're not familiar, a VPN stands for Virtual Private Network, and NordVPN is one of the best out there for keeping your browsing activity under wraps. Why do I use NordVPN? First, it gives me total online privacy. When you connect to NordVPN servers, all your internet data is encrypted. That means snoopers, advertisers, and even your internet provider can't see your personal info or track your digital footprints. It's like having an invisible cloak for your online life. Second, NordVPN is awesome for unblocking geo-restricted content. Love streaming sports from overseas or catching up on that show that isn't available in your country yet? Just open NordVPN, pick a server from one of their thousands of locations worldwide, and boom, you'll have access to content you couldn't see before. Plus, with speeds faster than ever, you can stream in high definition without those pesky buffering interruptions. Now let's talk simplicity. NordVPN's app is super user-friendly. Whether you're on a phone, laptop, or tablet, you can connect with just one click. And if you ever get stuck, their customer support is there 24/7. Another big highlight, NordVPN has a no-logs policy, which means that they never track or store your data. Your digital world stays yours alone. Lastly, if you travel often like me, NordVPN really comes in handy. Whether you're on public Wi-Fi at airports, hotels, or coffee shops, your data is always at risk. But with NordVPN, you can safeguard your connection and keep hackers at bay. No more worrying about whether your coffee shop Wi-Fi is safe. So if you're serious about protecting your privacy, accessing global content, and just having peace of mind online, NordVPN is the way to go. Give it a try, and I promise you'll wonder why you waited so long. Hit the link in the description to learn more and grab a special deal. Stay safe out there and happy browsing with NordVPN. Now let's get back to the rest of our episode. So, California, it's not ready to flip yet, but Republicans have made gains there. And a lot of people in California are shifting to the right because they're fed up with the leadership of California. They see what's going on. You look at Gavin Newsom, you look at the cost of living, you look at the fires, you look at the homelessness, you look at the crime. This is why a lot of people have left California. And they're leaving California mainly because a lot of these people are actually conservative. And they're going to places like Nevada. That's partially why Clark County is moving to the right. They're going to places like DFW in Texas, and Houston, and Phoenix, and Florida. And all these places are moving to the right. And you would think, oh, well, that means California. You know, all the conservatives are leaving. But California, not only are you seeing a lot of conservatives leave California to those places, but Californians that are staying are also becoming more and more Republican. You have a big Hispanic population that's moving to the right. You have a big, Asian population, which is moving to the right. So all across the board in California, you're seeing a shift to the right. And a lot of younger voters as well. I mean, it's a relatively young state. And a lot of these people who they're voting now are voting more Republican. And that's why you look at this poll and the tides are turning. The times are changing. 48% of likely California voters say they're going to be open to voting for a Republican in 2026. I mean, that's half the population. So either way, you're talking about a very close race or a race where a Republican, depending on the Republican, could go out there and win. But even if it's a close race and the Democrats end up winning this election in 2026, there are down ballot effects. And you're talking about a lot of House seats that possibly could flip Republican in a midterm, where a lot of Democrats are hoping for a blue wave. But are you exactly going to see that? I don't know. But you look at what's going on here. 71% believe that the current leadership has not addressed the high cost of living. That's almost 3/4 of the population. So there's possibly room to grow off of that 48%. 60% oppose free healthcare for undocumented. They say undocumented, it's illegal aliens. But regardless, there's still a very, very good sign, especially because when they phrase the question undocumented, you're going to get a bias towards that thing. And even then, 60% still oppose. If you say illegal aliens, that would probably jump up to like 70 to 80% that would oppose that. And 73% support fully funding the anti-crime Prop 36. So you're kind of seeing a lot of people there not happy with the liberal leadership in California. According to this poll, there's a very good chance that you could see a possible Republican governor. Now, let me be clear. I don't think you're going to get a very, very, MAGA type governor in California. It's true, even though Trump self-made gains in California, it's still a very blue state. You're going to need somebody, like a Kevin Faulconer type, somebody that can actually, I guess you would say, peel off some voters who would not vote for like a Trump candidate, or at least not yet. But somebody who's not going to be outwardly hostile to the base either. You need somebody who's just going to be good for the state, the best possible person for the state that can go out there and can put up a fight, if not win. I don't know who's exactly going to go for it on the Republican side, but you look at the Democrats and you already have a lot of people that have declared. But it's very possible that Kamala Harris is going to pull a possible Richard Nixon and go for this. There's a chance she runs for the presidency again, which would be hilarious. But you're seeing this now. All the media that were bashing her after a loss and saying, oh no, we lied about the internal polls, etc. Now the same people are writing these pieces for her that are like, oh, she ran a wonderful campaign, so maybe she's going to run again in 28. But there's a very good chance she runs for governor, and that's why they're kind of propping her up once again. And you're saying that Kamala Harris possibly could go for it, but the problem is, Kamala Harris is not popular to the point where she was barely winning statewide elections in 2010 in California. She was underperforming the top of the ticket by 15 points. She only won because there were right-leaning third parties that took away from the Republican Attorney General candidate. And I'm not saying that Kamala Harris would technically lose to a Republican, but there's a very good chance it could be close, depending on what happens in the jungle primary. Assuming you get 2 Republicans, you might see Brian Dahl go for it again. We don't know exactly who is going to go for it. Lanny Chen, who actually got a statewide race within single digits in 2022, could go for it again. So there's plenty of people who possibly could. I will tell people that, be careful in this primary. You need a candidate that possibly could win this election. In a blue state, you're not going to get the best person possible, but you never know. I don't know if Steve Garvey will go for it again. He put up a respectable fight for a federal office. I think that he only ended up falling short. We could look at the Senate map, and he only fell short by 18 points, and that's with Trump on the ballot in the presidential year. Could he defeat Kamala Harris at a statewide level election? It's entirely possible. But regardless, you see what's going on in California. There's not a lot of polling, but this is for the jungle primary that we see. Either way, it does seem as if there's an election. This is going to be very closely watched. And that doesn't mean Republicans are going to win it, but they do have a chance, depending on the candidate, depending on who they put up there. I mean, it's possible. If Democrats can win an election in the state of Kansas for governor, they can win in Kentucky. I mean, those states are, well, not Kansas necessarily at this stage in the game, but Kentucky. Democrats have a governor in Kentucky right now. If you look at Kentucky, it voted for Trump by 31 points. They won a governor's election in Louisiana 5 years ago. Donald Trump won that state by more than Kamala Harris won California. So again, it's not impossible. You're going to need the right candidate for sure, but it's possible. California is going to have a relatively competitive race for California. The realignment's in action, and we'll see what happens there. But New York as well. Kathy Hochul, not very popular. Harris only won New York by 12 over Trump. Very possible that New York could very well flip, and it might be a more realistic flip before California. But still, seeing polls that show this, people are open to it. And depending on the Republican, very possible that you could raise that up from 48%. But still, even if Republicans go out there and they get in the mid-40s, that's not good for the Democrats. And the down ballot effects are brutal for them at the state level. The congressional level, the local level, they may suffer losses in the state that they should not be losing in. And it's like Republicans are gaining strongholds. Texas was supposedly the next big swing state according to Democrats. They said they were going to make it blue. Yeah, that backfired. It's now solid red. Florida is solid red. Ohio is solid red. And Democrats are losing their grips on places like New Jersey, New York, California. Yeah, it's still going to be a blue state. There's no denying it. It would take a seismic shift for California to be competitive in the presidential level. But the state level is a little different. And when you see these metrics backfiring, if you have a solid candidate who could effectively message and you have an unpopular Democrat at the top of their ticket, yeah, it's very possible that Republicans could make this a competitive race. And at a very minimum, they could go out there and flip a few congressional seats and block the Democrats from a House majority in a midterm year where they're counting on it being a blue wave. Well, we'll see about that. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below. Comment below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another episode. You can follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below. And if you want to support the channel, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/twledger. And I will see you guys in the next one.